Series of author interviews is brought to you by Leisure Press and the Book Reality Experience, turning writers' dreams into book realities.
Hi everybody, my name is Alix Kwan and welcome to another Book Realities, our series of interviews with independent authors. And today we're joined by Trish Dulka. Trish, welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Trish, so tell us about yourself briefly. Who are you? Where are you from? Where do you call home? Where do you live now? What kind of careers have you pursued?
Um, well, I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So for your international guests, it's about an hour and a half north of Chicago. So we're right along the Great Lake, Michigan, and it's beautiful. I've lived here pretty much my whole life. And for most of my adult life, I've actually been a marketing manager at Hal Leonard Publishing, which is the world's largest music publisher. So I've actually spent most of my time in publishing, just a different side of it.
Wow. And so does that mean you are musical?
I love music. I am a huge music fan, but I am one of the few people in the company that doesn't have a music degree. So, but I know enough about music to be able to write about it.
Okay. And do you play anything?
You know, as a kid, I played flute and violin and sang in choir, but I don't currently. But I'm married to a musician and I bred two musicians, so I'm surrounded by them.
Cool. So two musicians that you've bred, what do they play?
uh, Piano, they both play piano. One also plays cello, and the other one also plays ukulele.
Wow. Ukulele is a real thing at the moment, isn't it? There you go.
It is.
Okay, so Trish, then how did you become a writer? So you worked in publishing for music, but how did you become a writer? Like when you were a kid, did you think you were going to be a writer when you grew up, or when did you first decide you wanted to write?
I certainly always loved books. And even going back, I had a brother who was much older than me, 13, 14 years older. And he was studying library science, and he even worked at a local library. And on my summer vacations, and I was little, 7 or 8, I would go with him to work, and I would show up with him before the library opened. I would get to walk around, just get a pile of books in my arms, go into the employee lounge and sit and read all day and be pampered by all the librarians who loved having a kid around. And so I guess I've just always loved books. And then it was probably but definitely was in high school. Like my freshman year in high school, we had to read the short story, The Lottery by Shirley Jackson. And I just remember that was like a lightning bolt hitting me when I finished that story going, whoa, you can write stories like this. They don't have to have a happy ending. They can like leave you jolted and frantic. And I think that's when I thought, I've got to do this.
And so the book of yours that I have had dealings with is called Chances Are. Is that your first book that you've written?
Yes. And it's in terms of writing, shortly after that lightning bolt happened in high school is when I started Chances Are. So I started it when I was the main character's age.
Okay.
And so it was one of these books that was, I'd work on it, put it in the proverbial drawer, bring it out every couple of years, go to writing conferences, pitch it a few times, get one rejection, go, cowering in a corner, put it back in the drawer. But the characters just kept coming back to me and just wouldn't let me alone. And so I knew I had to finally make it happen.
Yeah, right. And so for our viewers, what is Chances Are about?
It's about a teenage girl named Jenny, and she's got a jockey father who's not doing so well. And the story basically starts when her mother walks out on both of them. and things kind of go from bad to worse. And Jenny has to make some pretty rough decisions that a 16-year-old girl shouldn't have to make. And of course, there's a little love story in there. She's got a successful jockey boyfriend. And when she has to kind of start over, there might be a new love interest. So, I think kind of just shows that no matter how horrible things are, you can always find some good in them. And that's just her decision on how she's going to, shape the rest of her life. No pressure.
So I really love how real the characters are in Chances Are. So Jenny, she's 16 at the start of the book, and you can identify with her as a 16-year-old, albeit a very mature one. And then you see kind of what she progresses through, and it's a really interesting story. It's almost like she's had to be an adult, and then she gets to be a kid, and how she deals with that. And I think that's really nice. And now that I know you started it when you were in high school, it kind of, maybe that's part of where the authenticity comes from, because you wrote it as a teenager yourself, a lot of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so it's really great. Who is your favorite character in Chances Are?
I guess it is Jenny. I do connect with her.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
Yeah.
And I also like you speaking about the short story that you read that didn't end with happily ever after, and you loved that you could do that. And I don't want to give away the ending of Chances Are, but I like how you have ended Chances Are as well. It's kind of, it's not perfect, but it's hopeful. And I think you've done that really nicely. So
thank you. Yeah, that's great to hear that was your takeaway. Good.
It was.
Accomplished.
Excellent. Good to know. So for all our listeners, if you want an interesting ending, Chances Are is your book. Do you have experience with the horse world, with racing and jockeys and all that sort of stuff?
I was, as much as I loved books as a kid, I also loved horses as a kid. I think I was kind of a typical girl, horse crazy little girl, collected the model horses and went to horse shows and stuff. I grew up in the city, so I never owned horses, but I tried to do as much as I could with them. And then as I got a little bit older, I became a boy crazy little girl. And we would always watch the Kentucky Derby on national TV and stuff. And when I saw that cute jockeys rode horses, it kind of seemed like, wow, well, there's a perfect combination. And my older sister pointed out to me, it was like, there's a racetrack down in Illinois, not that far from here. And bless her heart, she took me down to the Arlington Park racetrack one day, and I got to see it in action and learn that there weren't just 3 races a year, that there were really races going on every day all across the country. And I just kind of became obsessed, and it just kind of became my passion. I learned everything I could about it, read every book, went to as many tracks as I could. And yeah, it's a little bit strange that a girl from Milwaukee would become so fascinated with horse racing, but it's carried on to this day. So I think that was kind of with Chances Are, it was kind of my little fantasy world that I wanted to be part of that world. And what would that look like? What if I had a jockey boyfriend?
Yeah, so. Right. Well, so obviously a lifetime of research has gone into Chances Are, which is why it's believable, I guess. Especially for people who don't know anything about how the jockey world works. That was a really interesting little insight. Cool. So what is your work schedule like when you're writing? Like how long? We know, for example, that Chances Are has been a decades long club, shall we say. But was there a period sort of recently, maybe while we were editing, going through, and there's a couple of rounds, so, we edit, comes back to you and you work on the script. What's your work schedule like when you're doing that kind of thing?
Yeah, for me, since I do have a day job too, kind of my sweet spot is Sunday mornings. I have to be completely alone and quiet. And so it's, as a mother, there aren't that many opportunities where you can get to that perfect sweet spot. So kind of limited. And that's another reason why it takes me longer. But yeah, I mean, I love my husband, but I've bitten his head off many a time when he opens the door. What's the weather like today? Oh, the spell is broken. So yeah, quiet alone time is the sweet spot for me.
And is there
I don't know how people can go to a cafe and work with other people around them. I don't think that would work for me.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Some people like the white noise. I find it distracting because I tend to listen to conversations.
Right.
Same as some people that I work with in my day job like to listen to music. Now, I don't mind music, but I can't listen to lyrics because I start to get distracted by the words. So it has to be, instrumental. So you prefer dead quiet.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, because I have to hear their voices in my head.
Oh, that makes sense. That I had not thought about it like that, but that makes perfect sense. And do you have like a special drink that you prepare yourself? So when you go in, you're prepared, you've got your laptop or whatever you're working on. Do you have a special drink or a snack or something that you also need to have with you?
Well, since it's usually in the morning, it's usually just I'll treat myself to making a latte or something.
Okay. Latte is very safe. Good for when you're working. You don't want our characters to be a little crazy. So the chances are, you've spoken about how the genesis really for chances are was that you were horse crazy and boy crazy and in high school. So the perfect storm for this particular book. But was there anything interesting that you discovered while you were researching? So I know that a lot of, we've just talked about how your research was kind of what you were living and breathing at the time, but was there anything that you thought about specifically for the book that really surprised you?
I don't know, because it came out of everything that I was already immersed in. I can't say there were any surprises. That maybe the things that changed over the years while I worked on it was Jenny's mother, and learning about motherhood as I got older and seeing the different types of mothers. That was probably the biggest change in the book editing over the years, is her developing her character a little bit more.
What about the editing process? Did that go as you expected it to, or did you learn something through that process? How did you find that part of the creative process for you?
It was good. And I always like getting outside opinions. And I think that's where my day job helped me a lot too, because I'm usually the person who's giving the feedback. So I understand that process, and I understand how I want people to take criticism. So I like getting outside input and hearing, even before I started the official book reality process, getting other outside opinions and questions that people would ask me about that. I was like, oh, I never thought of that. And then reworking it so that those questions were answered earlier. It was challenging, certainly, but I really was happy with how it would turn out then.
Yeah.
So it's like, you don't want to hear that somebody has questions about your storyline, but then once you start working on it, you're like, oh, well, yeah, I understand why they had that question, and I'm glad that I can fix it, find a way to fix it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And do you have trusted people around you that you shared it with, or do you have, some people will put it out to just a general collection saying, hey, anyone who wants to read this, let me know? Or how did that
work? I did not, and I kind of wish I did get involved with some local writing groups where I know that they do that. I did kind of keep it to myself. And once it was published, I had so many people come up to, I had no idea you were writing a book. And it's like, no, you wouldn't, because I write in the dark in the morning by myself. So no, it was pretty much a solo process. I did a few times over the years, I did share it with other teenagers, with real teenagers, to get their take on it. And that was good feedback too.
Was it brutal coming from teenagers?
No, actually, no. If anything, I think they were too nice because they didn't want to hurt my feelings. So,
oh, well. What do you like to do when you're not writing or working or mothering?
I spend a lot of time, my husband and I spend a lot of time at my sister's hobby farm. She lives about an hour away from us, and she's got horses and chickens and dogs and cats and endless amount of work to do on a beautiful farm in rural Wisconsin. And so we spend a lot of time up there.
All right. So you get to play with the horses, but you have
Yes.
all
Yes, I
the
find
responsibility.
yeah, it's funny that the horse crazy girl in the family doesn't own horses, but my sister, who wasn't into horses, did end up owning them. So yeah, so she's got two. So yes, I get my fill of taking care of them and riding these days, which is great.
That is excellent. What would you advise other writers who are just starting out? If you think back to what might have helped you the most, what tips would you give new writers?
You know, one thing, if I had a do-over, because I started writing in high school and I had a lot of support from my teachers and stuff, I felt like I already know how to write. So when it came time to go to college, I didn't go for creative writing. I thought, well, I already know how to do that, so I'll do something else. And I think that's what college is for, is exploring other things. But I wish maybe that I would have got like a double degree, because I just felt like once I started trying to pitch myself, I felt like I didn't have the credentials that I needed. I think it would have added a little bit more street cred to my resume if I said I had studied with so and so creative writing. So that's one thing that I would do differently. But then also, like I mentioned before, getting involved with writing groups for that ongoing feedback. Since I hadn't done it, I guess I was a little bashful going into it. So no bashfulness, and have thicker skin than I did about getting the first rejections. You always hear about the wildly successful writers who did have 100 rejections before, but when it really happens to you, it does sting a little bit. So.
It's tough, isn't it? Yeah, it's your baby.
Right.
So have you got plans for another book at the moment, or are you just simmering in the success of chances are?
No, I'm not. I'm not letting this slow me down. If anything, it's invigorated me to get serious and to keep going and to reinvigorate all those passions that I had when I was younger. So right now I am going back. So my most prolific writing period was, in those college years. And I have a ton of short stories. And so I'm currently dusting those off and doing some research on different magazines to apply to try to get some of that street cred with the short story world back, and then maybe put together a collection of the short stories. And then a few more young adult ideas are brewing in my head. And I hope that I can start getting more mornings and not just Sunday mornings to start working on those, because I don't have a few more decades to put together a few more books. So I'm going to get more serious about it now.
Yeah, okay, cool. Well, you wait to see what comes out of the Trish Dulka writing machine. What is the best feedback you've ever received? So either on your books or just in general.
Get an outside editor, even if you have to pay for an outside editor, because even if you edit things for a living in your day job, doing something like fiction is real different. And an outside person will just be able to spot things that you're just too close to notice.
And what for you is the best thing, happiest feeling, best moment about having written and published a book?
Well, we had a launch party that was a lot of fun, just with family and friends. But I think that the most surprising moment was when late at night I was watching a movie at home and I got a text from a former coworker, and it was a picture of the cover of the book. And she found it in our local neighborhood store. And she doesn't even live in our neighborhood, so I don't know why she was shopping there. But she was like, I had no idea you were an author. I had to pick this up right away. And so for somebody to buy my book that I hadn't seen in a long time and to reach out to me about it, that was pretty special.
Yeah, that is very cool. Are you doing much social media promotion for Chances Are?
Yeah, I've been trying. The Unfortunately, right when we released the book, right on Kentucky Derby Day this year, which was great, but right after that, there were some kind of catastrophic accidents in horse racing, and it was bad timing. So I did slow down a little bit. Let's let the U.S. racing system get back in gear before I wanted to start promoting it again. So the Breeders' Cup is tomorrow, which is a full day of racing. So I will be parked in front of my TV watching them all. But I thought that'll be another good excuse to start ramping it up again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do believe that social media is the way to reach kids these days. And so that's what I'm trying to do. Find out where they hang out and tell them about it.
So Trish, tell me, why did you choose to work with your publisher, who just happens to be Book Realities? So which social media platforms are you using for Chances Are?
Facebook and Instagram.
Okay. Staying away from the app formerly known as Twitter. I think it's now called X.
Oh, yeah. I can't see teenagers using that too much. I know TikTok is big, and I'm actually gonna. I've been looking to find. I know there's a lot of book influencers on TikTok, and so I've got to get the book into the right hands of some kids that might promote it that way.
Yeah, nice. Well, good luck with all of that. I hope it goes really well.
Thank you. So when I brought the book out last year, I was working. Well, I've always been working on it, but last year I had sort of a scary incident. My husband was diagnosed with a pretty serious health condition and caught everybody off guard. And luckily, he's been responding to treatment really well, but it was a pretty big wake-up call. Like, what are you waiting for? Life can change in a minute. So I got serious then about bringing out the book, re-editing it, looking at it in fresh eyes, and then started getting serious about looking into other publishing options again. And I kept hearing about hybrid publishing, and I got an email for a webinar that was happening with a panel of different hybrid publishers. And so I signed up for it and I watched it. And Ian from Book Reality was one of the panelists. And I'll say he was the one person on the panel that I could kind of relate to. But even after that, I still did some more research on hybrid and was like, oh, I don't know if this is right for me. Maybe I should just hire an editor and do the self-publishing route. But I can't really tell you what made me do it. But after a week or so, I just thought, well, you know what? I'm just going to reach out to this guy and maybe ask him some questions. And I did the submission form, and I was quite surprised because I knew it was supposed to take like 2 weeks to get back to me, and he responded right away. And he was so cute because he said, well, I usually would give you a spiel about what hybrid publishing is about, but I know you were at the webinar, so you know. But what you didn't know is that I really like horse racing. And we need some young adult books in our catalog. So send me the whole thing. So that was exciting. So I just feel like it was a serendipity to find somebody who also loved horse racing and out of all the publishers out there. So it was a good match.
Yeah, nice. And Ian is pretty great, so I can understand why you found him appealing.
And right away he offered me some feedback, and he was great because I remember there was one thing that he recommended that he recommended a few things, and like one of them I did push back on, and he was cool. So I was just really happy that feel everything happens for a reason. So I'm glad I sat in on that webinar.
Yeah, nice. And I feel like, I mean, I know I work for Book Realities, but plugging us a little bit, Ian and the staff that we have as part of Book Realities really care about making the author comfortable and getting the author's best work put forward. So I'm hoping that that was your experience with Book Realities. So
yeah, it definitely
because
was.
I edited, but you know,
the editing process was superb.
yeah, so I'm really happy that you found the whole process to be useful and that it gave you comfort. That's really,
yeah. And I was very thankful to be so involved with it, with the book cover art, and that they worked with me and making changes and stuff. It was all very easy, very comfortable. So
nice.
You guys had your mission accomplished too.
So would you follow a similar pathway, whether it's with Book Realities or another publisher, for your next book, do you think?
I do think so. I do think so, because I do like the hands-on involvement. I like the how speedy everything was. And I'm comfortable with helping with the marketing because it's what I do. So yeah, it's been a good match for me.
That's really good to hear. So we have some rapid fire questions for you.
Okay.
You just give us the first answer that comes into your mind. It doesn't matter how silly it is or how much it makes us giggle. 15 questions. You ready?
Oh boy. All right, we'll try.
All right, here we go. What is your favorite book?
Oh, come on. That's cruel. That's cruel and unusual. Oh gosh, so many to choose from. I would let's go with The Book Thief.
Nice.
Zazu?
Yeah.
Zuzak. Just because that one, I could read that over and over again, and that the tone of that book just haunts me. So that one stuck with me.
Good choice. What is your least favorite book, if you have one?
I'm not going to badmouth any book, because once you become an author, you realize you don't ever want to hear someone badmouth your book. So I don't know that there are no bad books, but I would say I usually finish everything, but one book that I just decided wasn't holding my interest was Julie and Julia. Yeah, about the woman who was going through a midlife crisis and started cooking every recipe in Julia Child's cookbook. I don't know, didn't resonate with me.
Fair enough. And so in an all of life, emotional creativity type context, what turns you on?
Sticking with the literary theme, I'd say a good story, whether it's in a song or a book or a movie, or even just hanging out with friends. I love a good story.
Okay. Very well said for the author. In the same context, what turns you off?
Well, I am an American, and let's just say political polarization.
Excellent. I'm an Australian and I can totally get on board with that. All right. Summer or winter?
Winter, for sure.
And you're just heading into it, so you should be getting happy.
Yes, getting into my happy place.
Excellent. On a completely free day to do anything you want, who do you spend it with?
If possible, definitely my whole family, 2 kids and husband on vacation somewhere.
Wow, very nice. Mountains or oceans?
Mountains.
Mm-hmm. What's your favorite movie?
It's as hard as a book because I love. Okay, let's keep going with the literary theme. Emma Thompson's adaptation of Sense and Sensibility. Okay. I thought she did such a brilliant job of translating that book to film. Loved it. I even got a copy of the screenplay and read it side by side with the book. Loved it.
Oh, nice. That is dedication there. What one song would you listen to for the rest of your life?
Come on. Boy, like I said, I'm all over the map with music. It could be Beethoven's Seventh, it could be punk, it could be I'm going to go with my girl Taylor. Let's do Shake It Off by Taylor Swift. I've got a lot of sentimental memories with that song. And if I can only listen to one, it might as well be one about not worrying about things like having only one song to listen to.
And hopefully she will hear and realize that you are one of her biggest fans.
Get me started on Taylor. The people that I am like the official Taylor consultant at Hal Leonard, so they know to come to me.
Go. Might have to hook you and my daughter up. All right.
Okay.
What makes you laugh the most?
All right, my daughter's going to be mad, but I have to say my son Alex. But Lucy makes me smile the most. So,
all right, even then. What smell do you love?
Vanilla extract. Whenever I'm cooking, I have to just keep smelling the extract. It doesn't translate to soap or perfume. Then it's trash. But when you're actually cooking with the extract, favorite.
Very nice. What smell do you hate?
I guess besides the obvious gross things, let's say coconut.
Oh, wow. Okay. There you go. Is there a reason for that?
I don't know. I guess I don't like the taste of coconut. I don't like the smell of coconut. I guess I would say mountains over oceans because the oceans smell like coconut oil. Everybody's got sunscreen on. I don't know.
There you go. All right. Other than writing and doing what you already do, what profession would you like to attempt?
I love travel planning. So I think in my next life, I should be a travel agent.
Maybe you could write a book about being a travel agent, and that is a very good excuse to travel. You've got to do your research, right?
Oh, Alix, I like the way you think. Let me write that down.
And what profession would you not like to do?
Sounds horrible. I'm not a people person. So I think I work with a lot of salespeople and God bless them. But I think what they do, having to call someone up and try to pitch them on something sounds like torture. So yeah, I would say sales. Although I'm in marketing, but the marketing I do is in written form and I'm much more comfortable with that. But actually having to talk to someone and try to convince them to do something,
yeah, right.
Torture.
So outbound call center is your worst nightmare.
Oh, no, never.
Fair enough. And if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Oh, that's easy. You'll make me cry. Your family's waiting for you.
Oh, that is very lovely.
Yeah.
Cool. That's the end of the formal questions that we have. So thank you very much for your time today. It's been great getting to know a little bit more about you and about your story. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we finish up?
No, I just, I hope people will check out the book. And if you have a young adult in your life, although I've had a lot of older male friends have become fans of the book. So I guess maybe I'm pigeonholing it. But yeah, I hope people will check it out, and just really excited to be part of this whole process.
Hi, thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel for more readings and author interviews. And don't forget to hit that button to be notified every time we post new content.
If you're an independent author and you'd like to be a guest on our podcast and YouTube channels, simply email guest@bookreality.com or visit our website at bookreality.com and have a look at our podcast page.